Hey, everybody, welcome. We're live. I did it.
Woo.
I actually hit the
Good
live.
job.
Like you're gonna start singing. I thought you had like an intro song.
You do not want me to sing.
I was like, wait,
Uh,
did you write a song for today? This is
no.
amazing.
Anyways,
Jazz hands.
welcome everyone. This is episode. I am looking at this. It's a crunch. It's like looking at a chart. Dang it.
Gotta double check it.
Exactly. Are we in key G? This is episode 66. And today's, man, obviously it's Dom and I here with the lovely, talented, amazing, complete badass Amanda McCoy. And I should say the latest addition to the Ampeg family as well. Officially.
Yeah.
You've been part of the family for a long time. But Amanda, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. I mean, love
please.
Ampeg. Love you all. So
the honor is all ours, all ours. So I hope we didn't scare you with some of the questions that we were.
Oh, no. I mean, side note, I mostly travel with boys. So, I mean, there's nothing. Nothing makes me blush.
He said boys, not men.
Yeah, right. And we want to talk. Actually, you know what? Now that you bring that up, we want to talk a little bit about that dynamic. Considering we had International Women's Day last month and Women's History Month last month, and you did an amazing video in tribute to Carol Kay, which I'm gonna one way or another before this broadcast ends, I'm gonna figure out a way to share that on this live stream. But man, you pulled off Good Vibrations. That was like. You know, with the pick and
so cool. And sidebar to that, there are two bass lines, and until I really started digging in, I've never learned that song. And I'm going through, the Carol Kay catalog, and I mean, gosh, like over 10,000 songs. How do you even begin to go through that? But Good Vibrations, everyone knows that, even without the music, which is so cool. You just hear the bass line, you know what it is. But there are two basses on there, and it's so cool. So cool.
Do we know that if that was Carol that played both lines, or was that Brian? Did Brian play one line and Carol play another?
So that is so questionable. And I really dug and tried to find an answer, because that second bass part where it just kind of goes to the root 5 stuff really sounds like an upright to me. And I know that there was a separate guy, I forget his name, that recorded a lot of upright on the Beach Boys sessions as well. So it could be the mixture of the two of them. But it could also be Carol doing both of those parts that Brian wrote, or Brian could have played one. So it's just really, you just wish there was a log that you can just look at. But there's so many questions, especially when it comes to Carol Kay. Like, I had no idea. I feel kind of goofy, not knowing about the whole Carol Kay and Jamerson almost controversy. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick one of those songs that's not on that list,
Yeah, right.
But
we know Carol
so funny.
Definitely played on Good Vibe. That was not Jamerson.
Yes.
Yeah, this goes back. Gosh, I remember this goes back at least 20, 30 years, the controversy between who played on Bernadette and who played on.
I Was Made to Love Her.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, there's just so many. And I was like, I have no idea about this. This is wild.
And the record keeping back then, unless it goes back to the union,
right?
Nobody real or the individual performer's gig log, nobody really knows, So anyways, what we want to, and anybody that's watching, if you have insight to any of this, please chime in, because we want to know.
Chime in. Send us some notes.
Inquiring minds. So there's the link, the YouTube link. Thank you, Haji, for posting that. But
I knew Haji be on that. Thanks, Haji.
He was right on that. But
that's
I'm going to see if I can replay the video at some point too. But before we get that far, I want to talk a little bit about your background and your history. I know I sent the notes and whatnot, but originally from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Coshocton.
Yeah, Coshocton. You did it. First try.
Hey, if I can say monoculous, I can say anything.
That's very true.
I'm one of like a dozen people in the United States that knows where and how to say Chicago.
Right, because Dom, you're not too far away, right?
Not too far away, about 45 minutes to an hour away from there.
Where are you in Coshocton, or where are you from? Or where are you from in Ohio?
southeastern Ohio. I always say dangerously close to Wheeling, West Virginia, like right close to that border.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool.
Ohio.
So like, the Ohio Valley.
That's
Maybe.
exactly where. That's exactly where.
Okay. I've got so many friends. The guy I actually met the guy who builds my custom basses on a random gig in Ohio Valley before I moved to Nashville.
Okay,
so yeah, Ohio Valley people are good people. It's really cool, Dom.
I was like, she's good people.
Yeah.
I apologize. I had my heater blaring in the background here, and I realized you couldn't hear it. Oh,
couldn't hear it.
I'm turning
I
it
couldn't notice it either.
That's great.
So Amanda, do you come from a musical family? Were your parents musical? Like, what was your background growing up?
So both of my parents are not professional musicians at all. Like, never went that route. Like, no one else in my family went that route. But my dad always had guitars around the house. He'd always like pick around a little bit.
Okay.
And my grandparents, especially my mom's parents, were so and are still so into country music. So, one of their first, amazing gifts to me during Christmas was an acoustic guitar. I was like 3, maybe almost 4. So like got a guitar really quick. And then to have these guitars sitting around the house growing up, like with my dad, I just fell in love with the guitar. And we'll get into how bass, came into the picture. But, so dad always plucked around, and, his family, bunch of McCoys were like rooted in Appalachian folklore,
I was gonna. Are you related? Are you actually related to the McCoys?
We can totally be traced back, which is really cool.
I was gonna joke, like, was there a Hatfield family that lived across the street from you? But that's probably not a good joke. Yeah. Wow, that's
good
cool.
thing. Yeah, so part of that kind of Appalachian folklore, so it was always kind of in the air. And my mom doesn't play anything, but she would always sing to us like as kids. I remember her always like singing us to sleep. And I think that's so important, and probably aided in pitch and timing because she's a great singer, but I think it's so important to sing to your babies. If you got them, sing to them. I think it helps.
Yeah.
But so just grew up with music always around, and it's always encouraged. Like I can never remember a time like picking up the guitar, later picking up bass and having my mom and dad be like, turn it down. That never happened. Not one time, which is so cool.
Yeah. Very cool. So you started off playing guitar back then. That was your introduction into playing music. School bands.
Band?
Cool.
So like finding the bass, I always think it's such a wild story, and it's kind of like gone along with my life. Things just kind of happening, and these beautiful little things just kind of come into the picture. But I'm so into playing guitar, like all the way up, grade school into junior high. And I was so excited for junior high because I actually started learning how to read music by playing the flute. You're in 5th grade, you have to pick an instrument. Guitar's not on that list. I'm like, damn it. Okay, I'll pick the flute. Easy load in, right? So picked the flute, learned how to read on treble clef. And, by the time 7th grade rolled around, there started becoming, the extracurricular activities started to come in, like jazz band, Caribbean band, stuff like that. So jazz band list was posted, and I noticed you could sign up for guitar. So pumped, can finally play guitar, went to sign up, but an 8th grader already took that spot. So right below it, bass guitar was open. So I was like, what the hell? It's a guitar.
Yeah.
Totally cool. So signed up for that. The only thing is, like, I did not have a bass. I did not think this through. Didn't have a bass. Had no idea about, bass clef being a thing at that time, which is very funny. So I just signed up on a whim. And I remember going home that night, after school. And my dad, from a very like middle class, very Ohio Valley like family where my dad, worked a lot of industry type of jobs, running the Z mill at a steel plant. So he'd come home from work, he's got his bucket and his work boots on. And before he even took off his work boots, I was like, hey, Dad, so I signed up to play bass guitar in the jazz band, but I don't have a bass, you know, and I didn't really ask him to get a bass, but he's like, okay, cool, let's go get one. Like that moment,
Oh, that's
didn't take
awesome.
off his work boots. You know, we went to,
Yeah.
I believe in Coshocton, the only type of place to get something like that was Sam Goody.
Okay.
So we walk into
Wow.
like a Sam Goody, and I got a
Yeah.
little, you know, silver tone
Yeah.
P bass. That was my first bass, and I just fell in love with it. It was like, oh my God, this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
You know, totally changed my
Wow.
life. You know, like I always think like, what if my dad would have said no?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Imagine.
I love
Yeah.
the zero hesitation. Let's go get it. Come on.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
let's go.
I mean, that, you know, I'm being a dad, that's kind of like, you know, that's a given. You know what I mean? Especially when any of your kids like show any interest in any kind of art form or something, anything creative. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
hey, Dad, you know, I'm taking mechanic shop at school. I need to go buy a set of tools. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Totally.
a great response. That's
That's like
awesome.
such a dad thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such
My
a
kid
dad
needs
thing.
something. My kid wants to build something, or she wants to play something. She wants it. Absolutely. It's like, all right, come on.
Let's
You know?
go. But yeah,
Yeah.
moms are the best, super cool.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my mom is amazing, amazing woman, so cool, free spirit. But I knew like you cannot ask mom about this. You have to ask dad.
You
Like
knew.
you have to ask dad.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. Like my kids know, like,
Yeah.
depending on what they're looking for, they know who to go for the right
Yeah.
answer, you know?
Really
It's
smart.
terrible, but
Oh,
it's very
no.
true.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Hey, I grew up with 7 siblings. So like
Mm,
there was competition
wow.
between the 8 of us. It's like, yeah,
Ooh,
and
that's
I
a
was the
lot.
youngest. I'm the youngest out of 8. So it was like,
Whoa.
yeah,
Can you be
You
yeah.
had
I
to
got
like claw your way.
well, you know, no, not really. I got my ass spoiled, but I also got my ass kicked all
Good.
the time too, because my ass
Yeah,
got spoiled all the time.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
anyways, so from there, went on to college as a
Yeah,
bass player or as a guitar player? Because you even
as a
today,
bass
you
player.
still split duties quite a I mean, I know you get
I
called for
do.
bass quite a bit,
I
but
do. I always tell people, you know, I love Nashville, but there is a thing in Nashville where it's like, you know, you get kind of put in this box and you don't want to venture too far outside because you don't want, I don't know, there's just a little bit of a weirdness between splitting up your time or what people
yeah,
know you as. But predominantly in Nashville, known as a bass player, but yeah, I still get calls, especially from the artists that I work for as a bass player or an
yeah,
MD that
mhm,
also know I play guitar to like come out and do a writer's round or, hey, we're doing like a split down, you know, torn
yeah,
down type of situation. Do you want to play acoustic? So I definitely still split my time, but predominantly play bass. But went off to college as a bass player, like became totally obsessed with the bass. Soon as I picked it up and always had, you know, bands in high school. Both of my little sisters, I have two little sisters. I'm the oldest. So we would always like have a garage band situation go on where, you know, we'd switch off on instruments.
sure,
Sarah, who's the youngest, is a great little drummer, and Megan, who is the middle child,
okay.
and like she is the middle child, like did all the
Oh,
did all
yeah,
the fun things growing up, right? But anyway, she would play bass and guitar, and we kind of switch back and forth. But yeah, we had like a little
oh,
sibling band that would play all the animal clubs. You know, I spent some time playing moose lodges and elks and, you know, the
ah,
eagles, all
Yeah.
those things. So yeah, just became obsessed with playing and really wanted to pursue it, you know, and went to college for it and focused on the bass guitar, but also, you know, still had the opportunity to play guitar as well and kind of work that in. I always say that I, you know, kind of unofficially minored in guitar as well because my bass professor, you know, is like literally one of the best guitar and bass players I've ever met. He's amazing. So it was fun to learn from someone that did both and could,
Yeah.
you know, equally teach as well on both instruments. Pretty
right.
incredible.
That's great.
Pretty incredible. Yeah.
Now,
Like
you went all 4 years?
I did.
You
I went
get your
went all
bachelor's?
4 years, got my
Okay.
bachelor's, yeah, from Bethany, which Dom, you mentioned that you had
great.
some friends who maybe have
Friends,
gone
I
to
have
Bethany.
several friends who went to Bethany, and then I probably looked at it at some point, I'm sure.
That's cool. You probably went right by West Liberty too and checked that out.
Gorgeous campus, Appalachian Mountains there.
Yeah, my mind is blown. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we got rolling here. Dom, I can't believe you know where all these places are. Like, you don't know how many people I talk to that have literally no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, there's this like stereotypical joke in California where pretty much every third state everybody thinks is Ohio. Like, they're like, is Iowa Ohio or is Ohio or
Idaho?
Could be Idaho, exactly.
It's true.
Like, oh,
that's next to New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's so true, though.
Yeah, it really is. Dino was cleaning cables the other day. We were on a call, and he showed me like a label of a speaker wire, and the label was from it blew my mind because like all my cables still in my studio are from this one music store in St. Clairsville, Ohio, where I first started taking lessons. You're gonna guess
House music.
Yeah, absolutely. We had this cable time. I was like, "See house music." Where did you get that? Like, what?
Oh my god!
I'd actually go get the cable, but it's tied into my venture rig right now.
I'm like, where am I? Okay, my cable bag is not in here, but I could be like, oh my god, I have those too. So I taught at CA House Music I was going. Yes, I did. While I was going to college, probably like my junior and senior year, because I could just drive off the mountain, come down 88 and be there.
What year was that, Amanda?
So that would have been, I graduated in 09. So it would have been like 07, 08, 09. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Because I was telling Dom, I must have got that cable because I was doing a clinic at the store and I was probably short a speaker cable or something I bought. So, but I would have done that. That would have been anywhere from like 2004 and up.
That is you're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Where I started my bass lessons.
Oh my gosh.
With Denny Fitzpatrick.
Wow.
That's awesome. And it was literally, we were talking about cables and about branded cables. And I had this cable. I was like, it'd be cool if you could do something like, and it just had like the stress, the tension relief, the little shrink wrap thing the shrink wrap. And, it had the CA House Music. I just held it in front of the camera like this to Tommy. He's like, wait a second.
No way.
Yeah.
As soon as you said St. Clairsville, I'm like, okay, if you're from the Ohio Valley, like there's only one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. So you know about Roger Horde. You know that.
One of the best dudes I know. One of the best.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Like, talk about, where Brad Paisley kind of got that sound and that start, This is crazy. That's
anybody
cool.
from Ohio, you got to chime in here because
I was going to say,
this is like an Ohio Valley reunion going on.
Oh my gosh, the world is so small.
It really is.
It's
it
beautiful.
Really and truly is.
It's so beautiful. Wow.
So what drove you to Nashville? Like, and obviously, over the years, Nashville has just, for lack of a better term, kind of gotten out of hand. But it's 100%. Crazy. But what drove you to Nashville? Did you show up in town, start playing on Broadway, or I know that's kind of an avenue for a lot of guys.
It is. It is. So no, I didn't show up and just start playing on Broadway. And to be honest, it's like I've had to really think about this lately because people keep asking me like, why did you move to Nashville? And as crazy as it sounds, I didn't really have a reason other than knowing like, all right, there's a couple places I can go. I can go to New York City. As much as I love New York, I like to visit and then get out. Yeah. Love New York so much. Yeah. But it's like in and out, I'm done. Or I could go off to LA or I could go to Nashville and just, I don't know, something just, I don't know, call it intuition. Like I knew I needed to move there. And literally as soon as I graduated from college, I didn't really have a plan. I just was like, okay, I've got to move to Nashville, and kind of set my parents down because I'd moved back home, moved all my things back from college. And within like a month or two, I just already started researching it and kind of set my parents down out in the garage because I was out there probably like, cleaning cables or working on gear or something. And just told them like, hey, I want to move to Nashville. And I'm so thankful. Like there was no pushback, like total support. I think my mom, I don't want to say she got freaked out, but she was like, okay, well, this is a lot, because my mom loves her babies, I'm the oldest, so I was
You're
the
the first
first
one.
one to leave the
Yeah.
nest.
Yeah.
But they were just like, cool, like, what's the plan? When are we doing it? How are we doing it? And so thankful to have their support and the support of my mom's mom and dad, my grandparents. It was like we all kind of got into a Suburban with the trailer and like moved me down. It was amazing. It's like a family caravan of support. But when I got here, funny enough, like I didn't start playing country music right away. I started playing in a prog band called Zaz. And
Wow.
like it was like Chris Squire on steroids. It was just the guy who kind of was the leader of the band, wrote all the music. I still think he's just like this amazing genius. And I hope someday it's like Zaz can get its time, because it was such innovative, difficult music. So that was my first audition was for a prog band, which is hilarious. Like you don't move to Nashville, to play prog, to like wear a cape and be Chris Squire.
Right.
It's amazing, But yeah, I started doing that and would teach lessons on the side just to kind of make ends meet. And I just, started saying yes to things and just getting my name out there and showing up and being consistent. And honestly, it's just been a build from that. But as far as what brought me here, I wish I had a cool reason, I just kind of decided to do it.
Well, I think, at any point in time, when I was at that point in my career, same thing. I had a choice between New York, Nashville, and LA. And of course, at that time I was a rock guy. So it was like, well, I'm going to LA. I went to LA, but at some point in a player's life, there's really 3 hubs, maybe 4, but the main ones are New York, Nashville, and LA, to speak,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Man, it's and I still, I have a lot of friends up here in New Hampshire that they actually go back and forth. In fact, the singer-songwriter that I work with, she's once a month, she's down in Nashville. She's a country singer, and she even says, she goes, for what she's trying to do, it's like you have, outside of moving to Nashville, I have to be down in Nashville at least once a month for the singers, for the song, the writing circles and
doing the rounds.
You got to do it.
It's so important. And honestly, it's so important too, just to be present,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even it's, people see you for a day or 2 a month. Like that's something I tell people a lot, just being able to be present, make your presence known. It's so important. It really is.
Yeah.
Top of mind is just 90% of getting work. It's insane. Like just because I was around you at some event.
Yeah.
Not talking about anything music wise or whatever. We're just hanging out. But then some project comes in. They're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Being at the forefront of people's minds. That is probably one of the most important things. I mean, just a lot of it is luck. And I hate saying that, but I really believe it. Like the things that have happened in my life are proof of that. Like, wait, where did this come from? There's no reason for this other than just being in the right moment, right time, meeting the right people,
I've always learned too. It's like, at least this was a big thing when I was in LA, and even today, like, when I see people that I work with that are doing shows or doing small tours and whatnot, and and in passing, I'll say, dude, I would have loved to have done that. Why didn't you call me? He's, well, you're always busy. I'm not as busy as you may think I'm, and that was like the mantra in LA. It's like, hey man, how's it going? Oh, dude, I've got this going on. I got, and then back of your mind, you're like, all right, I'll remember not to call you then because you're too busy. Sort of thing.
Yeah. But Dino, that's such a great point, and that's something I've had to learn, even the last couple of years. Because we try to be so active on social media, and people get this perception too, like you're so busy all the time. Or when you're talking to people, you want to convey like all the positive things that are going on, all the creative stuff you're working on.
Right.
So I've learned. But yeah, if you need me, call me. I'd love to work with you. Adding that in, and even making social media posts like, hey, I've got some time off the road. call me. I would love to do this, this, and this. So it's important to let people know that you're working, you're busy, but also you'd love to work with them, making sure that they know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was I guess you'd call it like breakthrough moment in Nashville? Like what, so you went from the prog band, which it's so hard
it's hilarious.
Talk about Nashville and prog bands. It's like, but like, where did you, I mean, hey, I could just see it like, a country artist saying, hey, let's call Amanda. She's like really digging on that prog band thing.
She's
like,
so proggy. She'll be great doing the 1 and 5.
Yeah. She's totally just chilling out on a couple of days.
Like tell her to leave her cape at home. It's not really, it's not the right gig. But yeah, I grew up too, and I'm trying to really think like, okay, breakthrough moments, especially in the country world, because it's like I've so thankfully, and I'm so full of gratitude to have found success within that world. I was a rock bass player, a rock guitar player. I remember when I moved to Nashville, my grandpa, who, such a lover of country music. I mean, hanging out with my grandparents, it's where I, got all the repertoire in my head, like the Tanya stuff even. Like Dolly and Porter, Waylon Jennings, Don Williams, like all these classic country artists came from hanging out with my grandparents. So when I told them I was moving to Nashville, my grandpa was like, well, you're going to have to learn how to play some country music. And I was like, nah, man, I don't think so. I really so arrogantly said that as like probably an 18-year-old, 20-year-old at that point or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think my breakthrough moment, as far as like breakthrough Nashville moment, was the first time playing the Opry, and just how quickly that happened, and just how, talk about, I mean, to me, that's like one of the Super Bowl moments of living in Nashville, like getting to step on that iconic stage and kind of sharing that moment with these amazing musicians that are in the house band. And, and watching the Opry with my grandparents. I mean, they always had that stuff on. So I knew the weight of it, and doing that for the first time, I was like, okay, like, things are looking good. This is going well,
especially being able to go back to your grandpa and say, hey, I'm playing the Grand Ole Opry.
I know.
Like, it doesn't get any more like
it was so good
validation to your family than I just played the Opry.
Yes, and I'm so grateful, Dino, that he was still alive at that point.
That's
like
awesome.
He was totally, all there, could see it happen. And an Opry performance right after that was with the same artist, Candy Carpenter, and it was actually like a televised special honoring Dolly Parton. And so like he got to see that like live on NBC, honoring, one of the queens of country music. I mean, pretty amazing. Amazing stuff.
Yeah. Real quick. Yeah. How do you feel about Beyonce covering Dolly Parton's Jolene?
So I'm actually like, I have not heard it yet. I know I'm like out of the
I haven't
loop.
heard it either.
I've been so busy, but call me for work, right? I'm like adding that.
Right.
So busy, but I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm excited to, because I hear that she's kind of flipped the script on it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Which I think is a really cool idea.
We were listening to the news highlights last night. We were listening to something on TV, and they had mentioned how up next up, Dolly, I guess Dolly had commented on Beyond. And the long story short was, I never got to listen to the interview with Dolly, but like my wife had said, she goes, I wonder what Dolly has to say about Beyonce. And in all honesty, I said, knowing Dolly, she's probably more supportive than anybody else. Like, just knowing from what we know about her. Yeah.
It's amazing. Really.
Yeah. I haven't heard it though. So I'm probably going to listen to it after this, but I'm curious to just see, I would assume, and Beyonce's a pretty classy performer. I would imagine she did the song the justice that it needed to be done, but also did it as Beyonce,
For sure. Put her own spin in it. And I think a lot of people, and like, not to sound controversial at all, I don't want to get into any of that, but music is so beautiful in the way that it's supposed to be interpreted. Like if you didn't write it, I don't really want to hear a note for note cover unless you're trying to show me something or you're trying to convey something about that version, but make it your
Right.
own. You know,
Right.
music is meant to be always morphing and changing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And the whole notion of like, how could you cover that? You can't cover that song. It's like,
yeah, it's like, who are you to say that?
Yeah, right.
You know, give me a break.
Exactly. Who are you? Yeah, exactly. Who are you to say that? So I'm just kind of looking through my notes here, but so you're currently working with, I'm going to say in my Boston accent, Tanya Tucker.
Okay, well,
that is
she might
I could
beat
see
you up.
It's all right.
It's Tanya.
Tanya
Tucker.
Yes. Yeah. Because
I mean, if you go up to her and say Tanya, I don't know what she'll do. I can't guarantee your safety. No.
But in fairness, like, you know, Boston's all over the place. Like we say bathroom versus bathroom. But I actually have friends that are named Tanya. And if you call them Tanya, they'll be like, "What, you from the South?" But the last name is what I have a problem with. And I know Dawn was waiting for me to say it because normally in a fast drawl, I would say Tanya Tucker.
I love it.
When you were saying Bostonian say bathroom, I was like, or Portaflex.
Portaflex. But I have to stop and say Tanya Tucker and pronounce my R's.
That was so good.
Okay.
But also, like with the accent, it's so good.
But all right. Enough of the Boston accent aside.
Sorry.
But you're currently working with I almost said Tanya again. With Tanya. Oh my gosh, I owe you a quarter for every time I say Tanya. How's that?
All right, I'm gonna get the jar.
Yeah,
ready.
right.
No.
But yeah, just recently you started working with Tanya, and you had a really pretty high profile gig with Tanya and Patti LaBelle, and like that was pretty amazing.
Pretty wild. It really was. Like, it always feels weird for me to be like, yeah, it was so amazing. It's not an egotistical thing at all. It's literally just like the inner, 12-year-old Amanda being like, holy shit, this is crazy. You know, like it's never like an ego thing, but oh my gosh, it was so cool. And just getting the call, you know, it was an emergency call, like without going into it. But I had like 36 hours to learn Tanya's set. And not only that, but like in preparation for that gig, you know, I talked to the MD and I was like, okay, thank you for sending the list. Like, thank you for sending the charts. That saved me, you know, being able to just whiz through, make notes, learn those amazing lines, figure out, you know, if they're doing the live version or studio version or a combination of both. But oh my gosh, did that. And then I asked the MD, I said, you know, what songs might she do? Because I know she's going to call some songs. It's just a given because, you know, country superstars, right? Because she's a superstar. She's an icon, total trailblazing legend. You know, she's got such a
catalog.
She's got this like couple miles long catalog.
Right.
And I wanted to be prepared. Like, what are the songs she usually calls? So he made me a list of that. So I prepped that.
That's also a great thing you point out about like people speed learning for a gig. Like you always have to peruse YouTube and the live are like more important than the recordings. Like know the recordings just for like all the mindset almost of what the song was done in. But
for sure. Like my approach was like, okay, I'm going to listen through the studio version, make some notes. Like, what are the iconic bass parts that will translate live no matter what, unless they've changed the feel. Make some notes on that and then find the latest live version. And we're so lucky to live in the era of YouTube where you can literally go online and figure out when was the last time, Tanya and her band played this song. What do they do? And so I barely slept, went through all these songs, did all the work. Because, you know, being a side player, it's like you want to make the artist feel like nothing has happened. Seamless. I wanted it to be a seamless transition, you know, not only for Tanya, but for this amazing band. You know, I knew the band I was stepping into was like off the charts. And the bass player that I stepped in for, is an amazing bass player. So I wanted to just have a seamless transition, and it went great. I'm, so thankful I got that call, and that I'm Tanya's bass player now. It's really,
That's
really
cool.
cool, man. It makes me so excited. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
you bring up a very good point that when you're filling in for an artist,
Mm-hmm.
especially an artist that's had a band as long as she's had her core band,
Right. And
and
it
one of
has been
those
a
members
while.
gets displaced or gets replaced, or for whatever reason you have
Mm-hmm.
somebody coming in that you're not, as an artist, the person that's standing up in front of everybody, in front of the band, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, I'm singing this song, everything's normal, but I, I would think, not that I've ever done it because I've never been in that position, but I've been in our position where we're supporting somebody,
Right.
and you never want that person standing up in front of the microphone thinking in the back of their mind, I've got to fill in on bass tonight, so I have to be careful, or I have
Yes.
to, or
Mhm.
oh, what did they go to the? You
Right.
don't want any of that from the artist
Yeah.
you're supporting. You want them to turn around and go, I didn't even
Yes.
know you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sort of thing.
100%. Like, you do
Yeah.
not want them to even notice you're there,
Yeah.
just to not even think about it. But also, like, with an artist like Tanya, or anyone, as far as just like classic artists, these legendary people, they're not gonna mess around with you. If you're back there hitting if you're back
Yeah.
there hitting clunkers, I mean, I would
Yeah.
just I would
Yeah.
almost expect an outlaw like Tanya to turn around and be like, "Hey, what's going on back here?" Like, you don't
You've
want
been
that to happen.
you've been drinking? 'Cause,
When you
and
say
the other thing with Tanya, she plays all the instruments too. It's not like, I mean, she comes from a, like, does she knows what's going on with every instrument. You know
Well,
what I mean?
and I'm not even sure about that. To be honest, I'm not sure that she plays anything, but I do know that, like, think about how long that she's been doing it. I mean, Delta Dawn came out, what, in I forget the year, but she was like 13.
Yeah.
I mean, just think
Yeah.
about how long just that song in particular she's
That's
been
right.
performing it. So I mean, even if she's not familiar with how things are being played or what's being played, she's going to know
Oh,
immediately if
yeah.
something's wrong.
Sure.
If the bass hits one note that's
Yeah.
out of place, that's all the fun of being the bass player. You're the foundation. One
Yeah.
note, everyone notices.
Yeah.
Now, when you're prepping for a gig like that, Amanda, do you, and I know how I do it, but just to give some insight, like, do you start with the charts and then get away from the chart? I'm the type of guy, if I have a chart in front of me and I learn a song from a chart, I'm
Yeah.
stuck to the chart for the rest of my life. But
Yeah.
I've seen players come in with what do you call them? Oh my gosh, I can't reach it now. Like little
Oh,
notepad
okay.
thing. You know what I mean? For each song. What are they called?
Flashcard
Flash. Yeah. I mean,
ish.
and then it's,
Yeah.
well, it's
Just
funny.
just almost like little roadmaps, right?
Yeah, just like
Okay.
for each song. Okay, I've got this little arrangement. It's in the key of G, blah, da, 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 go
Yeah.
to the bridge. And then I've seen, it's funny. I was down at Berkeley last week
Mm.
for a bass clinic, and Greg Bissonette was playing drums, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting behind Bissonette, and he's got literally 8x10 pieces of paper with magic marker notes, scribble like hits, all in black, all taped, all on the side of his music
Awesome.
stand. I was like, Greg, I got to tell you, man, I can't read a freaking thing that you put up
Right.
there, but if it works for you, man, that is hilarious. I have a
Yeah.
picture of it somewhere on my phone. But anyways, like,
But yeah, as
how
far
do you
as
prepare?
prep, yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Charts are so helpful, but can oftentimes be a crutch, right? You don't want to
Yes.
you want to be in the moment, especially in a live
Yeah.
situation. Studio situation is different, but you want to be in the moment. You want to be performing. You want to have your head on a swivel, and
Yeah.
you could still do that on a chart too. But I find, especially with the Tanya thing, like, I definitely started with charts because I'm like, I have 36 hours. I'm going to have that chart. A lot of the stuff I ended up not needing to look all the time, but it's like it was there. The roadmap was there. But I find when I chart something out, when I make notes on a chart that's even already been made, especially if it's a great chart, right? I feel like just that process alone aids in memorization. Like with the Tanya stuff now, it's like it's very rare I have to pull up a chart for something unless she calls something totally off the cuff that I've never heard, and I'm like, okay, chart time. I'm going to read this chart down on the fly, in front of thousands of people. That's always fun too. It's a good exercise, and like, don't panic. You know what you're doing.
What do you typically use to read charts? Are you on iPad or?
I am typically on an iPad, and I really like Fourscore. I think that's a great program. Pretty seamless, knock on wood. I've never had any issues. And just recently, this past year, I ended up getting the iPencil, and it was like a game changer. I was like so old school, still writing out charts and like scanning them and putting them into Fourscore. So it's been amazing too to be like, oh my God, like this is the future. I'm in it. I'm not,
Right.
Made me feel so old that I like resisted it for so long. It's so great.
I need a new iPad. Actually, anybody out there wants to donate a new iPad? I've got like, this is my iPad with Fourscore. What's that?
That's awesome.
We need SVT time iPads.
Official. I agree. But this thing is so old. Like when I call up sometimes I have to switch between Fourscore and guitar tabs. You know what I mean? If I don't have the chart in Fourscore, I'm like, I'll be looking at April, or one of the band leaders, like,
just give it a moment.
Like, so anyways. Now you had mentioned that you also on with other artists, you're also a music director as well. Are you on bass or on guitar?
On bass usually, which is kind of funny. Like, I mean, of course there are music directors who play bass, but I feel like that usually goes to the pianist or guitarist, right? It's very rare that it's a bassist or drummer. Insert all the jokes here. I know everyone has them, right?
I just want to point out it's one of the stressful things I've ever I'm a pretty big control freak, as Dino knows. And you would think I love
me too.
being an MD bassist, but it is miserable experience because you have to be in on one on everything. You can't be wrong. And then it's like right brain, left brain, like this whole thing,
like you're in the hot seat.
I didn't even do it.
It's
and then
hard.
like guitarists and drummers and all those MDs, when they're they think they're the shit, I'm just like, whatever, Dino. I can support it. I'm like, you don't really have to be in on one and be proper every time. And if you're doing country bass lines, those are pretty typically like set bass lines, not just like play on this note, or like play in this chord. It's like, no, you root and fifth are actually pretty mapped out, I feel like.
Very much so. And what's so cool too, actually, without getting into it or naming names or anything, I just did a gig a while ago where I think Strawberry Wine was on the list. Everyone knows that song, but there's so many cool alternate bass notes where it does like a 1/3. Everyone else in the band, go to the 1. That's C. Okay, I'm going to go to E. Please don't play an E. Guitar players, like, that drives me crazy. But talking about being an MD, so stressful. Now that was oh my God.
Your stuff on the note, like when you're playing the alternate and then they do it, it makes it uncool because you're like,
oh my gosh, no, like this is the bassist moment. Step back.
That's awesome.
But
let us have our moment.
Even just the physicality behind it, because you're like the pitcher and catch. You're in on every play. Generally, you have to have both hands on the instrument. You know what I mean? So you're either giving head cues or some sort of left-handed cue or right-handed. I noticed, like one of our heroes, that bass player turned MD, Ricky Minor, has, especially for the Oscars, there's no way he would have been able to play bass and conduct an orchestra, but he's stepped away from the bass just to conduct and be the MD. So it's a very difficult. I think it's tougher. I think it's harder for a bassist than it is for a piano player or a plus generally a piano player is off to the side of the stage, has view of the entire band, whereas a
Right,
bassist
right.
is generally tucked
Everyone's gotta
behind
be looking at
everybody.
you.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
like, the key to this is, and what I've learned over the years, if I'm MDing, the key is hiring the best drummer for that job. A drummer
yeah,
that you've worked with all the time. Like, I have a guy who, if I'm MDing, he's the drummer.
Yeah.
Because he knows me, he knows what I expect, and if he is with me, I don't even have to give cues because he's gonna be so on point that the
Yeah.
drums, can be giving all of those cues, and he
sure.
can be so it's just really such a team effort, and I feel like, uh, there is such an egotistical things about and I don't even wanna say, like, about most MDs, but it is, like, such a control freak thing. I'm a control freak too. You have to learn how to delegate, though, and how to you know, to me, hiring the best drummer for the job is like delegating some power to him. Like, hey, man, I'm counting on you. I don't have to give cues now because you're going to play
Yeah,
everything damn
Yeah.
near perfect.
yeah,
But yes, it is so stressful. I really have kind of stepped back from that because to me, it's almost like having to do a lot of paperwork when you just want to do something else, right?
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
Yeah.
just want to play music. I love if the band is right, being the MD can be so wonderful if the artist is right, but I've, been in the position to do a lot of TV work and to be the MD of that, and you have to not only work with your trusted band, which is always pretty easy, but then
Mhm.
you get these artists that come into the equation,
Yeah.
and some of those artists can be real wild cards, and you have to know how to be diplomatic, how to put out fires. It's just like
yeah,
so many other things other than this,
yeah,
right? And it's
yeah.
like
This
Well,
this
try not to do it anymore, to be
this
honest.
this
Yeah.
all of a sudden becomes
That's yeah.
auxiliary. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that,
Right.
you're just there to pluck the strings at that point. You've got a much bigger role to cover after that.
It's so hard
Yeah.
to be present in that
Yeah,
moment. Like
yeah,
like
Oh,
you
it
said.
is, 'cause
Yep.
you're always worried about, a train just completely rolling off the mountain, and you having to figure out, "Okay, what am I gonna do?" But,
yeah,
thankfully, that's never happened. It's just, it's so much busy work, making the charts, giving direction, running rehearsals. I mean, it
yep,
is like herding cats, and I
Oh, yeah.
just at this point in my life, unless the right MD job comes along where it can be very stress-free, right, with the
yeah,
right people, right artist.
yep,
Uh, I just wanna play bass,
yeah,
I just
yep.
wanna play,
That's
I
all
just
right.
wanna be in the moment.
There you go.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
12-year-old you who like what
Yeah,
was like,
what the hell are you doing,
like,
Amanda?
what do
Yeah.
you do? Yeah. What is this MD thing? What? You
Yeah,
didn't
MD.
get
Yeah, it's
And you
like, "Okay, cool, you're, getting paid more, that's awesome, bank account's happy," but the inner child's like, "This kinda
yeah,
sucks.
yeah,
What are you
and
doing?
yeah,
Why are we doing all this other stuff?"
your workload just quadrupled too.
Oh
I
my
know.
gosh,
So,
totally.
hey, it wouldn't be SVT time if we didn't talk about gear for a little bit. So,
Yes.
obviously, I know your gear, and you know your gear, and I think Dom knows your gear, and you took a fantastic promo shot in front of your 3 Pro and
Yeah.
your Portaflex
My po
cabinet.
yeah, I love it.
Um, but so primarily SVT 3 Pro and a Portaflex cabinet.
Primarily, yeah, and gosh, I love playing through a single 15. That has just, like, been my jam for the past I don't know, I would say close to, like, 8 years, probably even a decade. I usually
Okay.
was, going through 410s and
Yep.
Yeah.
still running that with the SVT3 Pro, and of course, with the Ampeg Classic, when I don't have to carry it.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
No,
I'm like,
absolutely.
"I love this so much, but I can't justify carrying it unless someone else is doing it."
Yeah.
But yeah, I switched and kind of downsized, and what kind of, prompted that was, a good friend of mine, mentor, like, best pal ever, has an old Sun single 15 cab, right?
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Vintage Sun cab, and for a while, I was, like, messing around with that, like, when I didn't wanna take out the 410 or I didn't wanna take out, the old, gosh, what was it? It was like, the single 15 combo amp. I forget what
Yeah.
that was.
Okay.
Right on.
Right.
That's
B
the
BA
15 and the
combo.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So anyway, I was experimenting with running the SVT3 Pro through this vintage Sun, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so cool. Like I love how, you know, it's got that big sound because of the 15, but it cuts like that single 15 just somehow still like can stick it to you. You know, I love that. And so then literally like right after that, I'm like looking online and was like, all right, you guys had just released like the Portaflex series, like the new Portaflex series.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in. I'm going to get one. And like it made load in so much easier. I mean, not to be that person, but I'm like, God, I'm only carrying around a 15. It's pretty lightweight.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds incredible, like such a great sounding cab.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dino, you know what I'm gonna say, right?
I know exactly what you're gonna say, and I'm thinking the same thing. I'll let you have the glory though, Dom. You go
We
ahead.
gotta get you a Venture, a VB 115, and you can with the Portaflex grill, and then it'll just like
all right.
You can literally
I have
one hand, like it's nothing.
That's amazing. So I have not played out of any of the Venture series stuff yet, even though I keep seeing it. I keep hearing it in these awesome promo videos you guys are doing. But yeah, I would love to try it. That'd be awesome.
I'm trying to see if I can get my iPhone to turn on here so I can get a remote camera going.
Oh, nice.
Hold on.
Oh, yours.
Let me see.
I also want to see this blue bass to your right.
Oh yeah, check this out. So I play Crook Custom Guitars, who strangely enough,
like Billy Crook. That's what.
Yeah, for sure. So Bill is from Moundsville, West Virginia, right there, right? And you know, still has a shop there as a one-man shop. And to me, like, you know, everyone raves about his guitars, as they should. They're amazing, but oh my God, don't sleep on the bass guitars. Like
every bass I've seen him make is beautiful. Look at that.
Like fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, and just has really got it right. And this is the
jazz body. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I love that it's a J bass, you know, but has that just flat Telecaster block of wood.
Yeah.
You know, can like use it as a weapon if you need to. But
I love that.
It's beautiful. He does great work. Great work. And they sound amazing.
Now you also it's a jazz configuration, but on a P bass body.
Yeah, for sure. Like almost like a Telecaster bass, right? Because it's got just no.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not contour. It's a block of wood.
Yep. That. Wow.
Yeah.
Now you also had a purple paisley one too.
So I have a pink paisley one, which is sitting back here, and that is like an old Tele bass. So very, very much like a P bass vibe for that one. And the orange one back there is my 5-string, and that's set up like a J, because I feel like I started playing J basses first, even though to me, like you plug a P bass into a vintage Portaflex, that is the sound. Yeah. Like I would die on that hill. Like that is the quintessential bass sound, right? But anyway, so another jazz bass, 5-string. But what he did to that, and I thought it was so cool, the color that I chose for that one is called Tangerine Sparkle. So you get this like really nice metal flake tangerine, and you can see back there that it has binding on it. So the front is flat, but still has the contour, but it's like a cream binding, and it just makes it pop on stage.
Nice.
Really, really, really great.
Would you say you're primarily a 4-string player than a 5-string then?
So of course I started on 4-string, but I switched to 5-string like right before I went into college. And until I got this blue Crook, which was probably about a decade ago now, which is crazy. That bass has been with me for so long.
Wow.
Like, saw all these beautiful moments with me. But I was a 5-string player for a very long time. And funny enough, there's a great story. Right before I went off to college, I was talking to my, soon to be bass professor in college, and kind of, let him know like, hey, I've got this 4-string, but I'm really thinking about getting a 5-string. Like this would be really cool. And this guy, amazing, old school. So this is when we were just like communicating over email. He goes, like, I've never even met this guy yet. So funny. He writes back and he goes, don't you think you should learn how to play 4-string first? So anyway, I got the 5-string anyway, because that's totally my personality. And now, like, if you ask him about it, he's like, I was wrong. It's great. It's so funny.
You're up on the stage, and you're just like, "Did I learn 4 yet? Enough for you? Are you proud yet?"
Yeah. But like that being said, that sounds like such an asshole thing to say, but like, gosh, you won't find anyone that has supported me as much as this dude. He's just so wonderful and is so proud. And, we laugh about that often,
That's good.
And, I remember, for some reason when kids go to school, that's when they decide to change up their instruments.
It's hilarious, right? Why?
It's just like a new age coming of age thing.
Like my first month at Musicians Institute, never in a million years played a 5-string bass. My first month at MI, I go out and buy a 5-string.
That's hilarious. I feel validated.
Oh no, it is a thing. It is definitely a thing.
Like my main, once I probably was like 2 or 3 years into playing, I was like, I want a 5-string and I want a fretless, and then I spent most of my
Whoa, you took it up like another level.
Yeah, I want to be the ultimate weirdo. Let's go.
We're gonna add a string and get rid of the speed bumps.
Oh, that's great. That's funny.
But I and it was funny because back then I had professors like Jeff Berlin, who's primarily a 4-string player. And when he saw me with a 5-string, he was like, pff.
Yeah, come on.
And he kind of had that same response. He was like, you will never get called for a gig because you play for a 5-string bass. But on the flip side, I had guys like Gary Willis and Steve Bailey, who were like, virtuosos on 5- and 6-string fretless basses. So, but the one piece of advice that they gave me was like, listen, if you want to play 5-string, that's fine. Put all your 4 strings in a case and stick them in your closet and don't take them out for another year, because you'll start to confuse, especially when you're learning lessons and learning pieces, and you're just going to confuse yourself. Just stick with the 5-string for the and that's what I ended up doing. But
and speaking of
Steve
Bailey, like I remember being in maybe like junior of high school, right? My band director at the time, who was so awesome, played Bela Flex live at the Quick, right? And so that's like the first time I saw Victor Wooten, and I'm like, oh my God, right? Like we've all had that moment the first time we've heard Vic, and it's like, holy shit, the bass can do that. This is amazing. And then like going down the rabbit hole and, finding Steve Bailey. I mean, I do blame those two guys for me getting a 5-string. Like no doubt.
I was just talking to Steve yesterday, actually, because
that's awesome.
He's doing well. He's the head of the Berkeley chair bass department at Berkeley. Great. So, and Steve and I, he was my mentor through school. I can't say enough about the guy. I've known Steve for probably about 35, almost 40 years now.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, he's a lovely person. One of my favorite bass experiences that I got to have while in college. It's when Vic and Steve were still doing the bass at the beach, like or you can call them like camps, right? So I like did the whole audition and like was chosen to go, and got to go to that camp in like 2007 or something.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So getting to like play with those guys, and Kenny Aronoff was the house drummer, which is like what?
That doesn't suck.
Yeah. And what's so funny about that too is I was, probably like a junior in college, maybe sophomore, junior. Okay. And I had no idea who he was. I'm from Coshocton. It's not like people are like, hey, Kenny Aronoff is like one of the most recorded drummers ever. No one's like telling us this information. So I had no idea who he was, but we like formed an instant friendship because we had this exercise. This is like so goofy and funny, but it's just like such a hilarious story. We had this exercise at this camp where, we each individually had to come up on stage and kind of lead the band through a song, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just remember, learning from my mentors, like, listen, you're going to have to lead the drummer through some shit. It's always the drummer. Like, they're the one you're going to have to tell the drummer what to do most of the time. Yes, right. So I get up on stage and I'm like, okay, Kenny, here's what you're going to do. For the first 4 bars, I want you on the hi-hat. And then for this chorus section, go to the ride. And saying that now like makes me want to throw up because Kenny
Not if you're writing the check.
Right. So anyways, he just kind of sat back and nodded and smiled and was so lovely. And then afterwards, I still talk to him to this day and we keep up with each other. But I remember him telling my bass professor that he's like, yeah, Amanda made me her bitch. But I'm just like, oh my God, what a dumb kid, Holy
no. And he actually gives you a really nice quote on your website too, by the way.
Yeah, which is so nice. But oh my gosh. Wow. I'm glad that worked out, in a positive way.
Yeah. But like I said, and we all know, like guys like Kenny, he's such a pro. He treated you just like anybody else that would be hiring him for a gig that's paying him at the end of the night. I'll do whatever you want, and I will do it to the best of my ability, sort of.
No ego at all.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to learn from that. Like just being present and being able to receive being led, by some kid. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It really makes me like, oh, I cannot believe that happened, right?
Haji post. So I'm going to post this here. Haji, thank you again, buddy, for there's
so nice.
Amanda's website. Now, I know we're running out of time, so this is where it gets really down to the nitty-gritty.
Already, this has been so fast.
You believe we've been chatting for an hour now?
No.
So you are coming back. We will have you back.
Let's do it.
We can't get everything in that we want to get in the course of an hour. It just never happens that way. But sometimes in the past, like some of these episodes have gone almost 2 hours, and then we hang up. And I feel bad because it's like we just tied up that poor person's time for an entire hour. So anyways, so this is, I still don't have a title for this, Dom. I call it Dino's Rapid Fire 10.
Ooh, okay.
And this is
pressure's on.
This is how screwed up Greek this is. There's actually 11 questions. So I'm going to ask you 10 quick questions.
Okay.
You don't have much time to think about. You just got to, whatever comes to mind first.
No, I think it's
all right. Okay.
You got to call it Dino's 11th hour. Because we always do the last moment of the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark connotations there, buddy. I don't know if we want to call anything Dino's 11th hour. There could be a lot of crap to pay there. But anyways, all right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. P bass or jazz bass?
Jazz.
Okay. Active or passive?
Oh my gosh, passive all the way.
Okay. Rounds or flats?
Rounds.
Okay. B15 SVT or Pro Series or Venture now for that matter?
Oh no.
Or Portaflex?
See, this is mean.
If you don't have to carry it.
Listen, 15 Portaflex. Okay.
All right. Cable or wireless?
Cable.
Okay. IEMs or floor wedges?
Oh, okay. I have to add a quick note. If you have an amazing monitor engineer, IEMs all the way. It's life-changing.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I agree with you on that one. Pedals or no pedals?
Oh, pedals for sure.
I'm talking motorcycle or bicycle. No, I'm just kidding. Window or aisle?
Window so you can sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
High bunk or low bunk?
Low bunk. Absolutely. No question. Just roll right in.
Yeah. Okay. And black with white piping or silver and blue? Talking about it as Ampeg Cosmetics.
Oh man, that's two different eras, but I've got to go with the classic black and white.
Classic. Okay.
Yeah.
That's 11 questions. There's actually 12 questions.
Oh.
But all right. You already know this question. Best chicken sandwich in the United States.
So you've prepped me for this one. So I'm going to go like off the beaten path of it. I'm going to stick to Nashville, and it's not going to be like Nashville hot chicken.
Okay.
There's a local grocery store in town called the Turnip Truck. And they make such an amazing curry chicken salad that you can take home and like put that on a sandwich and grill it.
Nice.
So good. So I'm going to maybe give you an answer that you have not heard because I don't know where to begin. We were just talking, like, we've all been to so many places, had so much food. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. So do you guys have a favorite place in Nashville to like go get a badass chicken sandwich?
I don't have a favorite chicken sandwich spot yet in Nashville.
Yeah, there's a place here in Mass. Actually, another fellow bass player of ours, Tony Paleo, he and I meet there in Billerica. I can't remember the name of it, but I know how to get there. The name is secondary. It's just as long as I know how to get there. But in Nashville, I got to tell you, my favorite place to go in Nashville, it's not a chicken sandwich though, but it's the Hermitage Cafe.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Like
Awesome.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you just get out of a gig or, and you just want that greasy cheeseburger and fries.
Yeah.
It's the Hermitage for me, but
for sure.
that's our
good one.
That is our curse as people who travel as often as we do. It's like I was telling Amanda, Dom, it's like when you're going to a certain town or state, you automatically start thinking, oh, I know where I'm going to eat.
I know I'm getting dinner.
Yeah, it's like I'm in Syracuse. I'm going to the Dinosaur Barbecue. I'm in, I'm in Woodinville, Washington. I'm going to Belt Sushi. That sort of thing. So, yeah,
awesome.
Mass tacos from Kirk. I agree.
Yeah, Moss tacos. Okay,
Moss tacos.
Yeah, Moss tacos.
So,
yeah,
Dino,
now I'm hungry.
Yeah, same. I'm like, I'm gonna go whip up some lunch here. But Dino, I know where you are. But Dom, where are you? Where are you based?
I'm in LA. Yep.
You're in LA? Cool. Well, I would love to gosh, if shows are ever in your area, we got to meet up. We got to hang
absolutely.
out. Would love to get some FaceTime with you both.
Absolutely.
So I'll let you know when I'm in Nashville too.
Let me know.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Just for the record, we've had we've had people from all over the world. Paul from UK, who's a regular. Paul is always checking in. Kirk, of course. But yeah, I mean, you've got the entire globe here watching in too. So
that's great.
If you get to the UK, or I think Kirk is down in Texas, and
cool.
Yeah, you got
I think we got quite a few shows, I think, coming up in Texas, maybe in May with Tanya. It's hard to keep her schedule straight, but yeah, come out to a show. Would love to say hi to you all. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. I'll keep an eye open for Tanya here up in New Hampshire. There's a big country scene up here in New Hampshire and New England, and believe it or not. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. But you had mentioned earlier, and gosh, I just really got to shout out this photographer. This beautiful Ampeg shot that I was able to get and was so intentional about getting, and moving forward with you guys, because it's just the coolest thing ever, right? Not even the picture, just the idea of all right, as a bass player, I get to send Ampeg a photo in front of their bass amps, holy shit, this is so cool. It has to be perfect, right? So my good friend Denny Carr just knocked it out of the park. He's such a great Nashville photographer, so creative. It was such a fun session because he is a music lover and remembers Ampeg magazine ads and how cool you guys have always been the coolest, and we tried to capture that spirited Ampeg vibe that's always been there. It's awesome.
Yep. No, you did a great job on it. And for anybody, go to the Ampeg website, go to the artist page and look up Amanda's artist page. It is a fantastic shot too, by the way. It really is. I absolutely
Denny
love it.
killed it. And I mean, the gear just really pulls it all together.
Absolutely. Well, Amanda, I wish we could talk longer, but this has absolutely been a blast. Thank you for joining us. It's been awesome.
You guys are great. Ampeg is the best. So appreciate such a beautiful conversation. So intentional. Let's do it again. It was great.
Oh, absolutely. We will definitely have you back. And for everybody watching, man, thank you again. You guys. The reason why Dom and I get to do this every week and they haven't canceled us yet is because of you guys watching this broadcast. So thank you. Haji, thank you so much for being in the background there, pulling up all the links and everything. And Aaron, of course, our fearless leader. And in 2 weeks, not next week because it's every other week. We actually we have Bobby Vega coming on.
Nice.
So Bobby the Man Vega is going to come on and give us his insight as well. So the train just keeps on rolling, man. So thanks everyone. Cool. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
And Amanda, don't sign off yet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
See y'all later.